Where to even begin when it comes to this chapter of Taizai? I mean, there's just so many good revelations and moments throughout this entire chapter, to the flashback, to the beginning of the chapter, to the end of the chapter. There's so many good moments in this chapter, but I think the best place to start off would be probably the neck snapping scene of Scylla. Bon has always been one of my personal favorite characters. I've mentioned this many times in the past. If you've been following my videos on Taizai for a very long time, you would know how much of a fan I am of Bon, especially when that, Galen versus, Bon fight was. That was a very badass fight. I love seeing how Bon buffed up and all that, and he was fighting neck to neck with Ten Commandments. Even though we found out a lot of limitations to Bon, he still put up a pretty damn good fight. So with that, it's been a while. I've missed Bon-orientated chapters, because I miss his chapters. He's one of my personal favorite characters, and seeing him have, somewhat of the spotlight in this chapter, it makes me happy. But also, to see, regardless if, at the end of the day, Bon probably still doesn't stand a chance when it comes to all the other Ten Commandments, he, at the very least, went to save his best friend, Meliodas. And this took a lot of, I guess, consideration in Bon's mind, because, look, Bon just killed Scylla. He just snapped her neck and then yanked out her fucking hearts with Fox Hunt. Just completely wrecked her, and she's dead. Now, if you don't know, this means that Elaine, the person that Bon loves very deeply, and would almost killed his best friend, he almost killed Meliodas over, he gave up Elaine for Meliodas. That's what he just did. When he was having this hug and stuff with Elaine in this chapter, she's like, it's okay and all that, and you see how he has this, conversation with her. He's pretty much saying his goodbyes, because he's about to go kill Scylla before he can help out Meliodas before he dies. So Bon, he is a true bro. He's a true best friend, and also Elaine, she moves up in points in my regard of her as a character, just to see how she's like, my time is done here, you need to go save your friend, and let me go. That was a really great moment. Some good character development too. Unexpected character development for Bon, actually willing to let Elaine go to save Meliodas. So Scylla, we don't know necessarily if she is completely dead or not yet, because it's not completely confirmed, but you have it to where in this chapter, Nakaba Sensei did want us to focus on that the Fairy King cannot heal anyone else. Scylla was the last person the Fairy King could heal. That was point blank said in this chapter. So there was emphasis that any damage the Ten Commandments get from this point onward cannot be healed. It's pretty much GG for them if they get life-threatening injuries. So, with that being said, Scylla, even if she is not dead, she's probably in a state of near death, because if your hearts are yanked out, your neck is snapped, and your head goes completely upside down, that's pretty life-threatening. I mean, I believe that's pretty damn life-threatening. I mean, if your hearts are yanked out, and then, your neck is snapped, that seems pretty damn brutal. So, I believe if she is not dead, she's near death, and she can't be healed, so she'll probably die from her injuries. Now, besides that, however, let's look at this move that Bon introduces, Zero Sign. So, it fits with Bon's character. It really does. Now, I know many are going to be asking, why didn't Bon use this before? And from my understanding, I just don't believe there was any time that Bon really needed to use this move. I mean, think about it. This move is more of being stealthy and being like a thief, honestly. Just hiding your presence, walking through everybody, and then stealing shit. That's exactly what this is. It's kind of like a stealth skill, making yourself invisible. And it's not something that I think Bon really needed to use in the past. Now, some could argue maybe he could have used it when he was fighting Galen and stuff, but at the time, it was a very bad situation, because maybe there's some limitations to this skill that we are unaware of. Maybe Bon has to not be seen, and then he can activate it if he's already been seen. There could be some hidden limitations to this ability, Zero Sign, that we're unaware of, and maybe that's why Bon has never used it in the past. But regardless, though, the only place I think Bon could have used it in the past would have been against Galen, when he was running from the Ten Commandments. But maybe there's a limitation. Maybe he can't hide certain people if he's holding them. Maybe he couldn't, hide everybody else that he was holding, like Elaine, and then when he was running off, maybe he couldn't do that. Maybe, he could only hide his presence, his own presence, and nobody else's. Maybe that's why he never used it. Regardless, though, there is a lot of questions to this ability, but it's a very powerful ability, and it suits the skill set of Bon, because he is a thief, he's greed, he's the sin of greed. Him being able to, suppress his presence and being able to sneak around people makes a lot of sense. So I have no problems whatsoever with this ability. Now, the main question is, though, honestly, how is Bond going to survive this encounter? Because many are probably already jumping for joy and thinking, holy shit, everything's gonna be okay. Bond's the immortal. He cannot die. He's the immortal undead Bond. No. Incorrect. Let me explain. As we know, Bond is immortal. His soul can be sucked out and he could die. And Scylla was one of the only characters that actually proved to be a big, major threat to Bond, because his soul could be completely removed from him and he would die. That's very bad. So even if his body's immortal, his soul is not. Now, we do know the Ten Commandments have been shown to have some form of soul-sucking abilities. Now, we don't know necessarily if they can yank the souls out of people that are still alive, for instance, Bond. So, Scylla's like the only person that's been shown to be able to, like, yank the souls out of living beings. But the main thing to wonder is do they have some form of black flames, like what happened in the past? Because it has been emphasized that certain demons can hurt Bond. Look in the past when Bond went after Meliodas. Remember Meliodas hit him and that's the scar on Bond's face? Well, as we know, that was a permanent scar left by Meliodas after hitting Bond. Now, take a moment to consider this. The Ten Commandments, probably the higher-up Ten Commandments, like Esteros and Zeldris, they most likely have similar movesets to Meliodas, and they probably have similar abilities, so they could probably inflict devastating damage to Bond that could be permanent. So Bond is not safe in this fight. High-class demons most likely can permanently hurt Bond where he cannot heal and be fine. So, someone like Esterosa or Zeldris could possibly kill Bond. So, this is not a very good situation for him at all. It ain't. So, Bond is not safe. Just because he's immortal doesn't mean he's completely immortal. There is still some limitations, because with the scar that Meliodas left on him, it's a grim reminder that Bond can be injured, and stuff cannot heal sometimes. So, moving past that, let's look at the flashback, okay? I want to back up on this chapter and just go to the flashback. So, we kind of find out that Meliodas, at one point in time, he actually led the Ten Commandments. He was the leader of the Ten Commandments. And that right there, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Because, I mean, look, Esterosa looks like the older brother. He looks old and all that, and everybody assumed Esterosa was the older brother. But no. Apparently Meliodas is, the older one. And I'm just absolutely amazed, because we always thought Esterosa was, the strongest. So, with that being said, Meliodas being the leader of the Ten Commandments, it kind of lets us know how strong he was in the past. And then there's a couple other things that we need to take note of, and that would be Meliodas' design. He still looks like he does in the present day, but his demonic symbol on his forehead looks very, very different from how he looks in the present day. And it makes me wonder exactly what does this mean entirely, because his entire design with his, demonic symbol, like I said, it's different. It's very different. And if you look on the top left as well, you see Galther, which that's not even trying to be hidden. You can see the glasses, you can see the slight smile. It's pretty much fucking Galther, which we already knew. It's already been implied that Galther was one of the Ten Commandments, but this pretty much confirms that Galther is a Ten Commandment. The main question is, did Meliodas forget about this, or has he known really all along about this entirety of Galther? Because there is some things that we have to wonder when it comes to Meliodas' past. So, Meliodas knows about Galther. We do know that Meliodas murdered 2 Ten Commandments. He murdered 2 of them and then left. That would leave 4 seats open for the Ten Commandments once Meliodas and Galther left. Let me explain. Galther is missing. He's MIA, according to the Ten Commandments. Meliodas, up and left, and he left and just completely disappeared, so there's another seat. And then Meliodas killed 2 other Ten Commandments, which that's the spots that the Fairy King and then Balor, the Lord of Giants, or the King of Giants, took. So these 2, the Fairy King and the King of Giants, they both took the spots of the Ten Commandments that Meliodas killed. Then you had it to where probably Esterosa took Meliodas' spot, and then on top of that you probably had Zeldris, which is not actually in this, flashback at all. Zeldris is not actually shown, so Zeldris most likely took Esterosa's old spot. And then you have it to where, Dreyfus Fraudrin took Galther's spot that left. So all the spots are accounted for, so 2 of the characters in this flashback are dead. From what I could see here, if you look very closely, you have a person, like a couple of people in the background, that are kind of up and disappeared. Like, you see the person in the background that looks like a giant with the mask on. You see a person that has a weird mustache coming out. And then if you look closely in the back, you see a little small figure behind, Ganon. So I'm kind of confused about that one exactly, because, I mean, as we know, 2 are dead, Meliodas, you know, leaves, and so does Galther, so there's one person that's unaccounted for, so I'm kind of curious exactly who that is. It's probably someone changed appearances, but a lot of these forms, though, from these characters actually look very young. A lot of them look a lot younger than they do nowadays, so it makes you question, why hasn't Meliodas aged at all, but, you know, Estarossa has, because if you look in the background, Estarossa looks as young as Meliodas. He looks really young. And then, all of a sudden, he's adult form like he looks in this chapter, and, you know, since we've seen him. So, why did Estarossa age, but Meliodas didn't? Very curious about that one as well. Anyways, the chapter, it also shows us a quick glimpse of something that Meliodas was fighting in the past. And I'm going to assume that this is something like a goddess. Similar to how the Grey Demon was, this looks like, you know, something the goddesses would send after the Demon Clan. So I wonder exactly what type of strength this creature has for it to be sending it out to the 10 Commandments. One thing too, Estarossa said he yearned to be like Meliodas. He wanted to be like him. And then eventually Meliodas betrayed him. He ran off. He left him, and he's the whole reason the war 3,000 years ago even started. And this kind of brings up many more questions to the series that still continue to build up. As we know, the Goddess Clan a long time ago, they caused it to where Bon was going to go kill Meliodas. Remember, they asked Bon, hey, if you want us to bring back Elaine, the person you love, we need you to kill Meliodas. And this is what the Goddess Clan asked Bon before Hendrickson's defeat. And if you think about that, why would they want Bon to kill Meliodas when Meliodas was the entire reason the Goddess Clan could even wipe out the Demon Clan to begin with? Because from what we found out was that there was a perfect balance. There was a balance between the Demon Clan and the Goddess Clan, Giant Clan, and probably the Human Clan. There was a perfect balance, a ring, a circle. And because of what Meliodas did when he took out the 10 Commandments, removed 2 of them, and then he left, and then Galther most likely left, it made a huge gap, a hole in their power, and weakened the Demon Clan. And then eventually the Demon Clan got taken over, and they got sealed. So, the Goddess Clan used this to attack the Demon Clan once the 10 Commandments are weakened. So, they had to be somewhat aware of what Meliodas did. So, why did they want to kill Meliodas? That's another question that needs to be kind of answered. Why do they want to kill Meliodas when he's the sole reason the Goddess Clan got to wipe out one of their arch enemies, the Demon Clan? Kind of strange if you take a moment to think about it. So overall, the chapter, pretty damn badass. I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to happen next on the series. I mean, a lot of questions. Meliodas is the starter of everything that started the war 3,000 years ago and all that. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.